Well, next up on the podcast, really excited to have not only one of our partners, but a guy that is really an entrepreneur in the Owasso and Shiawassee County area, Tony Nash, the owner of AZEE Business Solutions. And Tony, first of all, welcome. You're a podcasting veteran. I mean, you have your own podcast. You're a guest on other things. We appreciate you taking time out to join us here.
Yeah, man, we appreciate you having me. We love what you guys are doing there. Glad to be a part of it, and thank you for having me as a guest.
Well, I'm going to start this off with just a business question because we've had Randy Woodworth on. I've been following a lot of what AZEE has been doing since you took over, and man, you're just killing it out there with different media. Just tell us a little bit about where you started and where we're at right now.
Yeah, so I mean, I have a background in hospitality. Actually, I ran hotels for 10 years. And, hotels is a 24/7 business. I have a large family, 6 kids, and it just took me away. I enjoyed the business, but it took me away from my family a lot. So back in 2014, 2015, I started to think about what could I do, for myself? What's something that I could do? And I knew that I understood how to grow a brand. And so I jumped out, and started a business called AZEE Business Solutions. And the motto was growing your brand from A to Z. The idea was to partner with companies that we're really serious about taking their brand to new heights, whether that be through their website, through their social media, through some video, whatever we could do to help. And at the beginning, man, we were offering everything. But, we've kind of niched down to what we really are good at, and that is branding. About a year and a half ago, we had the opportunity to buy Hankered Sportswear. So we were able to add that new layer of services to our portfolio. So now another way we can help people grow their brand is, through apparel. So that, they can wear their merch proudly and get people to talk about it. Of course, we've done a lot of merch for you guys, which we love doing. I love your guys' logo. We did a pretty sweet bag for you last week on your trip. That turned out really cool.
That's one of them, but I got a different one, boys.
Yeah.
He gets everything embroidered.
So we actually recently have rebranded ourselves. We found that having AZEE Business Solutions and AZEE Printing Solutions, it was kind of confusing people as like it's two separate businesses. So we recently kind of rebranded ourselves to AZEE Branding Solutions. Really what we're doing is we're growing brands. And so people that are serious about that and understand the power of a good brand, that's who we like to work with and help them and however we can.
That's cool. And I mean, Ted kind of set it up. We've had Randy Woodworth on, who obviously
Randy's on.
Yeah, he's all over Owasso.
Yes, he is.
Another awesome partner that we have is his brother, Jim Woodworth, and his business, Success Group Mortgage and Servicing, another great partner for 3 Point Podcast. So, we love having you guys on board too. But speaking of Randy, I saw earlier he's got his own podcast, First Gen Wealth. I saw you were a guest on his podcast. Was that today or recently?
That was today. And we actually helped produce that for them. We actually produce about 9 podcasts, I think, on total. And been talking to Randy about it for a long time. He was actually the one that inspired me to start my podcast. He said he was getting ready to start one, but it took him a little longer. But we got him going, and he's killing it, man. He's getting really good traction on it. And, he beat me up a little bit today about not diversifying my investments a little bit more. But we had a good time.
Yeah, and we had a pretty good conversation with him. He was basically trying to convince Jared to buy every open spot in Owasso and start his own townhouse commercial business.
That's Randy. Yeah. So he basically, his plan was to bring me on and publicly humiliate me as to why I haven't jumped in yet. But
I was going to ask this, I watched a little clip and I saw something that you guys were talking about how, and I've seen people talk about this before, that most podcasts, the first step is starting it. A lot of people say, I've got this great idea for a podcast. Me and my friends talk about this, or we've got this great idea, whatever, we want to start a podcast. The first step is actually doing it. The second step is keeping it going and putting out consistent content. And I heard you guys rattle off the numbers that X amount drop off after this much, X amount drop off after this much, and only so many, a very small amount, keep it going after, 20, 30, 40 episodes. We're on episode 275.
Wow, that's incredible.
As someone that, helps people out with their branding, how are we doing?
That's killer. You guys got to be in the top 5%, I would think, of number of episodes produced. That's incredible. We, I think it's 90% don't make it past episode 3. once they realize, oh, this is a lot of work and I got to do this every single week or day or however often they do it. But yeah, you said 270 something?
275 is our official episode 275. We've done other like special episodes and stuff like that. So not to pat ourselves on the back, but one thing that's been good about our podcast is putting out consistent content. This isn't just a question to like make ourselves feel good.
It's a good question.
I actually have a question for you.
Okay.
What's the challenge for people in today's day and age where damn near everyone has a podcast, everyone has a website, everyone has a blog, everyone has something where they're putting out some sort of content? What's the challenge that you talk to your guys' clients about actually doing something unique and like people are going to come back to and listen to or read or whatever it is?
Yeah, number one, it's trendy. So, the cool thing to start a podcast or start a blog, like you said, everybody's trying to do something. The good news is a lot of people, I don't know if it's good news, but in terms of competition, a lot of people drop off. I think if you're going to do a podcast that is going to last and that's going to get traction, and it takes time to build an audience. I mean, I've done 107, 108 episodes myself, and we average between 5,000 and 20,000 views per episode. And that's locally. Like we're not reaching much outside of Shiawassee County, which is fine because we wanted it to be a local podcast. Right. However, I think that if you're going to stick with it, number one, you got to talk about something you enjoy.
Yeah.
It's got to be something that you're really passionate about or really enjoy because it'll become work after a while and you just quit. And then I think you have to, clearly define what you want to get out of your podcast. Like, do I want to do this to make money? Do I want to do this because I enjoy talking with people? Do I want to do this to market my own company? Like for us, it's a marketing tool to meet other business owners and allow them to tell their story. So like if I was just looking at my podcast from a pure monetization standpoint, I'd be like, man, this is a lot of work for, we're not really monetizing it that much right now. However, my main objective was to get new clients, to introduce people to what I do, bring them into my space, talk about their business, give them an opportunity to win in their own community. And man, that has given me so much opportunity for new business. And so in terms of that, we've been extremely successful. But if you measure it against somebody else that's going viral every week and they're making, $50,000 a month in, ad revenue, then you think, wow, it's not good. So I think number one, talk about something that you really like, that you can talk about it all the time, even in your sleep. And then number two, make sure you clearly define the goal for it. Like, what am I trying to do here? That way, when it becomes work, you can stay on track and realize you're whether or not you're meeting your objectives.
Yeah. I have a question in regards to kind of your embroidery business. So I mentioned how Ted gets everything embroidered.
He does.
This weekend, he literally had a couple lawn chairs that had 3 Point Podcast logo on it.
I've been challenging to him.
He understands his brand.
Yeah. In a similar vein, what's maybe the weirdest thing you ever had to put a logo on?
Oh man,
lawn chairs has to be up there.
That's up there. No, I mean we've had some weird things. That's a good question. Man, I'm trying to think of what is something that's very odd. We had to embroider a Speedo. For somebody on the rear. This was actually for Casey Lambert, our own sales and marketing.
I was going to say, hopefully that wasn't for Ted. We don't want to see that.
No.
I won't tell him about that, Ted.
Thank you.
No, he ran for Mr. Owasso and they have a swimsuit competition, and he literally wanted to wear a Speedo, so he had us embroider his logo on the back, and then we got to see it up close and personal. Yep. It wasn't the finest moment of our lives, but yeah, I mean, people bring all kinds of things in. Doing certain things, just we can't get them in our machine. Right. But yeah, that had to be a strange one. Ted's bag last week was a challenge for sure because it had wheels on it, so it was heavy. You had to kind of hold it while it was being embroidered, but we got it done.
Yep. You'll be seeing that out in public at some football games coming up this winter. So we'll have it out there.
Great
you
question,
you talked about Casey. He's one of your staff, right? He's working with you.
Yeah.
Tell us about some of the other people, because I know you got a pretty impressive array of local people, helping out.
Yeah. I mean, I say this all the time, and again, this isn't to brag on us, but I think our community is really lucky to have the collection of talent that we have right here. We have filmmakers, we have web designers, we have graphic designers, we have social media experts. We have screen printer that's been in the business for almost a decade, embroiderers that have been doing it for a while, great customer service people. And then, of course, Casey is just Mr. Personality. He's our director of sales and marketing. He's brought a lot of new energy to the place and does a lot of great PR for us. So the talent that we've accumulated, I always say we're like the Avengers. You know, I'm Nick Fury, and we got our group of Avengers that, you know, I think that for a community our size to have access to a team of people like that really can sit down with you, hear what you're trying to do, and come up with great resources to help you grow. It's not something a lot of communities our size have. And I'm really proud of the talent we have. And we're getting ready to bring on another girl who's just homegrown, but she's been working in Midland for the last 8 years for a marketing company and been following us on social media. And she reached out and was like, I just want to work for you guys. And she's an incredible talent, you know, video filmmaker and web designer. So, yeah, we're excited about that. We're excited. We love the team that we have.
You maybe don't want to give away all your tricks, but when you have a lot of these new customers coming to you, you know, open to grow their brand, what's one of the most obvious mistakes a lot of these people are kind of making?
Well, I think, you know, people understanding what a brand is, you know, initially, like there's a lot of people that just assume, well, my brand is my logo. So as long as I have a good logo, I'm all set. And I would say, you know, it's amazing to me how many people have never really sat down and thought about, what is my brand? What do I represent? What are my brand values? What are the things we place a high value on? What are the promises we're making to our customers? What are the things we know we can deliver on? And so I've seen so many businesses that have great products, great services, and all these things to offer, but have no idea how to brand it or market it or get it out to the market. And really, that's what branding is. It's about putting out something that's consistent, that people know what to expect. You know, when they see the golden arches, they know what they're going to get no matter where they go in. You know, a cheap burger, fast, you know, no fuss, and it's not going to taste that great. But at least they know what they're getting because it's a brand that's established. And so it's important, especially with a small business, that, you know, taking that great product, that great service, and figuring out what does it represent? How is it going to make people comfortable to buy it? And so I think the biggest mistake people make is they don't really take the time to think through their brand. And they'll come to someone like us and they'll just say, I don't want to think about this stuff. I want you guys to help me come up with something. And I always tell them, like, we really want to work with people that want to sit down and think about it. We'll help guide you through the process. But if you're not willing to take time and think about what it means to you, you're not going to succeed, because if it doesn't mean anything to you, it's not going to mean anything to anyone else.
Yeah. It's kind of back to if you're going to start a podcast and you just want to be Instagram famous, it's not going to last very long, because you're not going to be passionate or whatever about, you know, what you're talking about. It'll get old very quickly. I think that's something, again, not to pat us on the back or whatever, but I think it's something, because I've gotten feedback, I know the other guys have too, about our podcast. We have a unique formula where not only are we all from the same hometown, so, you know, obviously also family over there, but, you know, we all kind of understand each other pretty well, but we're coming at things from 3 different generations. You know, whether it's talking about the Lions or Michigan State football or movies, TV shows, you know, whatever. We talk about things that we all enjoy to talk about. We always say 20, 30 minutes, let's keep it tight. Hour and a half, 2 hours later, we're still talking, and we're like, all right, we gotta cut this thing off. So we have a unique formula there. Yeah, we all enjoy talking to each other and talking about what, you know, whatever the topic is. So I think it's something kind of what you hit on earlier. You know, you got to be consistent, and you got to have something that's unique, because anymore people just see everyone who's going viral with a podcast or their Instagram brand or whatever it is, and they just want to be that. Yeah. So, you know, I'm curious what you guys do. I mean, you kind of explained it right there. People don't come to you and just say, like, hey, give me 100,000 followers on Instagram. It's kind of got to be like, all right, but what are you going to do it? Because anymore, I mean, it's different from even when I was growing up. I mean, definitely from when Ted was, even from when Jared was growing up. Everyone wants to use their Twitter, use their Instagram, use their, you know, YouTube channel, you know, whatever it is to get famous. What's the biggest challenge, I guess, to get people to really buy in and put the work in to, you know, like you said, either if they want to monetize it or if they just want to get a good following or something?
Well, you know, reality is number one. You know, the viral.
Not every podcast is going to be Joe Rogan's podcast, but, you know, like just.
I mean, there's only one, right? There's only one. So the viral overnight sensation is a thing, but it's extremely rare. Right. You know, people have to understand that, yes, you can do that. It could happen, But if that's where you're starting as a goal, like, you're going to be so disappointed, because really, I mean, it comes from years and years of just hard work, perseverance, dedication, doing something that you believe in. And again, clearly defining, like, this is my objective for the podcast.
Right.
And if your objective is to get famous and really be out there, there's nothing wrong with that. But then that takes constant content. That takes 4 or 5 times a day you're putting something out there that people can see, and then looking at your analytics and doing different things and trying new things and reaching out to influencers and celebrities and trying to get them to contribute or sponsor or take 2 minutes and say something on my show. And it just is a grind. It takes work. And a lot of these people, even that you see, you would consider to be an overnight success, you just didn't see the 10 years they put in before that, because nobody saw it, right? They were just like the No Easy Way Out podcast, mine. Like, only people from, Shiawassee County really have seen it consistently. And so, if I somehow blew up, there's 110 episodes that most people have never seen or heard of me, but I've been grinding it for all that time. And, I think that especially, Gen Z, they set themselves up for disappointment, because they really, really focus on that likes, follows, how many subscribers, instead of just doing something they're passionate about and being committed to it. I think listeners want to hear people talking about things that are real to them, and not just kind of a gimmick to get, views and followers, because that doesn't work for a very long time. And even if you think about the people out there that have made it overnight, if their success lasted, if it went beyond the overnight success and like the 15 minutes of fame, it was somebody that was really had something that they were truly passionate about. And so I just think the mistake people made is, number one, they don't really have a clearly defined goal. And if they do, it's maybe a little unrealistic. And so they set themselves up for disappointment. It just takes time. It takes time and work and effort. So that's why it's got to be something you enjoy, or else you will say, I've had enough of this, and move on to something else.
Before we get you out of here, Tony, and this has been a great business talk, but
I appreciate it.
We want to switch it to sports a little bit. Now, I understand that you're a basketball coach and had some success. Lay it out for us.
Well, I'm a huge sports nut. My whole life, I played 4 sports in high school. I've always loved sports. I am a Michigan sports fan to a fault. I've had lots of disappointment in my life. I'm a Tigers fan. I'm a Lions fan. I'm a Michigan Wolverines fan. I'm a Red Wings fan. And so, I mean, it's been, more years of disappointment than years of cheering. But my favorite sport is really, since middle school, has been basketball. It's something I've been passionate about. It's probably the sport I had the most success at as a player. And then, about 7, 8 years ago, I had the opportunity to become a coach. I had sons that were coming up who loved basketball, and they were still like in the middle school, junior high. And I thought, if I'm ever going to get a chance to coach them, I got to take this gig now. It was also around the time I was starting my business, so I really didn't have time to take it on, because it's a big commitment. It's 25 to 30 hours a week during basketball season.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm the type of person that like obsesses over it. So I go home at night and I'm watching film, and I'm thinking of ways to get the most out of the limited talent that I have. And so, but yeah, I started coaching about 7 years ago. I coach a small Christian school right here in Corona, Emmanuel Baptist School. We play in the Michigan Association of Christian Schools. We are a Division II school. And so we play against schools similar in our size, schools between 75 and 250 students, somewhere in that range. And we've competed well. I said I've been coaching 7 years. We've been to 4 state championships. We've got to cut down the nets twice. The 2 losses we had were both just heart-wrenching, heartbreakers. But this last championship we won, it was the only time I've ever had all 3 of my sons on the same team, because one was a senior, one was a junior, and one was a freshman. And my freshman was good enough to kind of make the team, didn't play a ton, but they were on the same team. So I got to cut down the nets with my 3 sons. And it really was a cool comeback story, because the year before we had lost to that same team by 1 point in the state championship. We came back the next year and played the same exact team. And my filmmakers made a documentary called No Quit. That's kind of our team motto. And you can find it on YouTube. It's about a 55-minute documentary about the comeback story that we had. And it is incredible. It's like a 30 for 30. He made it look so much cooler even than it was. But we've actually entered it in film festivals, and it's won some awards. But But yeah, you guys got to go check it out on our YouTube channel. It's called No Quit. It's a very inspiring sports story, not just saying it because I was in it, but it was about how these young men were resilient and overcame adversity and kind of came together under the mantra of no quit. And we got to cut down the nets together. It's a pretty cool story. So yeah, I love coaching basketball. Every year when I do it, I'm like, this is going to be my last year because it's so much. But then I always sign up for again. And my last son, my two oldest sons are graduated, and my youngest son is in 11th grade this year. So I think I'm going to go at least 2 more years. But then I have my daughter who's a freshman, and she's probably my best athlete. And I never saw myself coaching girls sports. And I still don't know if I can do it, but I may get involved when he graduates. So we'll see.
I think you'll like it even better in some aspects. You know, they listen for sure to what you're telling them.
Unbelievable. I helped the varsity coach last year with my daughter as an 8th grader. Actually got to play on the varsity team last year because when you're in a small school, sometimes you get to do that. But she's a good ball player, and I got to run a few practices. And it is true, the girls will do exactly what you tell them. Like you say, run into that wall, they'll do it. And they don't ask questions. So it's good that they obey or whatever, but sometimes they don't, aren't able to like just think through what's going on. But yeah, it's a different thing. I mean, if I have a boy crying in practice, then it's just public humiliation, right? We're gonna just. But if it's a girl crying, it's a whole nother story. You feel bad and you want to stop and let everybody go get a drink. So, but no, I love it. We're big basketball fans. So yeah.
I got one more quick one. I thought I was going to be done. We started talking about sports. So really, we could do a whole other interview with you about.
We'll line him up again.
Yeah, anytime.
So I played basketball for Jared's dad at Corona. Jared obviously probably was coached his whole life by his dad.
Yes.
We've talked before about Juwan Howard coaching his sons and stuff at Michigan. Mm-hmm. What's the challenge of doing that, coaching your sons? Do you find yourself sometimes coaching them differently than the other players, or because it's such a small school, maybe it's not the same as if you've got like 40 kids to choose from? What's the challenge of having your sons on your team?
That's a great question, man. This is so funny. I just was talking to somebody about this the other day. Coaching my sons has given us some of the best memories. We got to cut down nets together, and it's created some of the most tumultuous times in our relationship. My wife actually had to establish a rule in our home that 24 hours we're not allowed to talk about the game afterwards, whether it's a win or a loss, because we have a loss and I'm chewing the guys out in the locker room, and then I'm just on my boys all the way home, and they don't want to hear it. I found that like when my kids were younger, everything dad said was gold. I taught them almost everything they know about basketball, took them to games, took them to camps. But then every one of them, right around the 10th grade year, they start reaching that point where they just don't want to hear it from dad anymore. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I can either like just get upset with that and say, well, then you're just go, or, figure out how to coach them successfully. And so I found in the team atmosphere around the guys, they respond really well to me in practice. I find I'm certainly harder on my boys than everybody else, even though I try not to be, because I know what they're capable of and I know the work that they put in. But I would say, as they've gotten to 10th grade, like in terms of individual training, like right now, my son who's 11th grade, I have him working with a trainer, because I find that like the one-on-one training, it just creates friction. Like I can't let anything go, not even once, and not correct it. Right. And so me correcting it wrong every single time, you just get to a point where you don't want to hear from your dad anymore. Even though dad taught you, and even though dad knows, even though dad's taken us to these championships, you just, and I think it's part of becoming a young man. You just want to prove that I don't need it. So what I've done to help that is I've put them in situations in the summertime where they're working with other coaches, maybe playing with other teams, doing a travel team where I can go watch and just be a fan. And then when we get to the season, in that team environment, it's very much like everyone's going to kind of get the same level of abuse. Then they respond much more to it because, they've been taught to be good team players. But it is a challenge. It is such a challenge to coach your boys as they get a certain age, for sure.
Last question, Tony, or not actually a question, it's self-promotion time. Tell our listeners before we let you go how to follow you, where you want them to go.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Again, thanks for having me. And listen, I've for 110 episodes, I've been saying I'm going to do 30-minute episodes, and I think I've done it once. So it's a challenge, especially like I said, when you talk about something you enjoy. But yeah, AZEE Branding Solutions, you can find us pretty much on any social media platform. azee.co is our website. You can find us on Instagram at AZEE Branding. You can find us at TikTok at AZEE Branding, Facebook, AZEE Branding Solutions. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Twitter. Join our email list, do all the things. If you search us on Google, you're going to find us. We try to be everywhere. And if you're out there listening and you have a brand, or you're thinking about starting a brand, or a lot of people say, I have a business, I don't have a brand. Well, they're really the same thing. If you have a business, there is a brand, and it may not be the one that you want it to be. But if you need help with that, give us a call, stop into the place and see us. We'd be happy to just talk with you. My favorite thing, this is why I love the podcast, talking about something you're passionate about. My favorite thing is just sitting down with somebody and learning about their business. Go to Foster Coffee, have a cup of coffee, and just learn about your industry. And the cool thing is now I don't even try to sell you something. I have a sales and marketing director now. So if I think, you should buy something, I'll send him to visit you. I just want to sit down with someone and have a cup of coffee and learn about your business and what you do. And so if somebody wants to sit down and have a cup of coffee, pick my brain, I love it. I'll even buy the coffee. But yeah, reach out to us, and we'd love to meet you.
Outstanding. Awesome. Well, I tell you what, we really appreciate your partnership with us, and obviously you can look behind me. The quality is second to none. We love it. So again, thanks for being with us, Tony.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having us. Keep up doing what you're doing. I can't wait to get to episode 300. Let me know.
We'll do it.
AZEE Printing Solutions, formerly Hankered Sportswear, is a full-service print shop that specializes in screen printing, digital printing, and embroidery. They pride themselves on giving a great product at a great value. The area's go-to printing solution offers a 100% guarantee to exceed your expectations. AZEE Printing Solutions has your favorite local spiritware as well as many other apparel items in stock. Specialty items are available for family, sports, business, and charity events. Call 989-725-2979 or stop into the store in downtown Owasso.
Success Group Mortgage and Servicing is Shiawassee County's only licensed mortgage broker, lender, and servicer. That means you get exclusive products not found anywhere else. If you are looking to purchase a home or refinance a home in Florida, Hawaii, or Michigan, stop what you're doing and give Success Group Mortgage and Servicing a call. 989-720-4380. That's 989-720-4380.